Yo, 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 it's ODB. This is OLP. Thanks for coming back and listening and or watching via our YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. This is episode 375, and it's the second episode we dropped in a week. The reason for that, I'll get into briefly, and I want to thank our title sponsor, Scraping the Coast, every June in Biloxi. This is a show that's inducted into the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. Come on out, typically the last weekend in June. Scraping with an IN, thecoast.com for more information. Biloxi's a great time every June, so come on out and join in with us. I'll do a brief intro on this episode, and then for this episode overview, our friend, no stranger to the podcast, Jay Church from Negative Camber, Florida, is back with us because he has an announcement. Some of the news that broke a few days ago. This episode got delayed just a tad because I did the previous episode, which was the crew cut episode, which I'll talk about in a moment. But Jay has, again, some big news from a print media standpoint. So that's going to be pretty cool. And we talk a little bit about what he's just had going on. So tip of the cap to our brother Jay Church, who we're going to see shortly at the Turkey Rod Run here in Florida, which is always the weekend of Thanksgiving. The episode overview is brought to you by Hammered Weekend Wear, HAMMERD weekendwear.com. They just did 2 awesome pre-orders, and they have their open enrollment for 2025. If you get in with the reduced price, you save, but you also get every design. And don't just take our word for it. HammeredWeekendwear.com. You can see all of their epic designs. They feature real builds, and they're good people. I'll let them know that OLP sent you. Breaking news. This one now is a week old, but it's still a hot topic. The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight was a spectacle for sure. And if you didn't get a chance, please go back and watch our episode 374 where I talk about crew cut. Now, I know there's a lot of trolls out there, and there were just different people in general that probably aren't really involved so much in our truck community. And of course, I made one real post on like Tuesday or Wednesday, and somebody was like, "Oh, look at all the clickbait." I'm like, one post after a fight. And oh, by the way, it was a hot topic. So it's so funny how, our channel and my topics, I never really kind of try to get in on the wave of what's hot. However, the crew cut thing I had been wanting to do. And when on Saturday last week, we did our Kennedy cruise, which is an annual event. So my day from 6:40 in the morning when I left until 7:30 or 7:20 in the evening when I arrived home, I had no time. And Sunday, I kind of didn't want to focus on getting behind the computer because I'm on a computer 5 days a week, often 6 days a week. And I try to get away from my workstation just to do things that aren't behind a computer. So I started working on the video, I think like Monday, Tuesday. And then I want to apologize because I was going to put the video out at a certain time on Wednesday. And thanks to Grant Cox and Josh Ellis, a couple of people reached out and said, "Hey, your video went live, but something's not right with it." And of course, I scurried to try to figure it out, and I exported it like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, it looks fine. But when I upload it to YouTube, it zoomed in on one letter on my hat, looking weird. And of course, uh, many of you know that use software. I generally try to delay a software update for a while. Well, I had a software update on my Adobe stuff, and that ended up installing or updating to Adobe Premiere Pro 2025. And that's the program that I had used to edit that video because it was a little bit more intensive than my, typical boom, quick video. And there was a VR setting turned on. So long story short, figured that out, got the video out there. And then the only other frustrating little thing for me was, even though I had selected what I thought were the best settings, it didn't seem to be in 4K. It seems like it's in 480p, but I don't think most people really cared. I got the most views on that video from our channel. So thank you if you watch that video. If you haven't, please watch it through. And I just talk about the progression of Crew Cut. But the fight itself, I mean, I enjoyed the undercard fights. I mean, I was up late because I knew I had to get up early the next day. So I didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't really too heavily invested in it. I think like most of us, we wanted Tyson just to knock the dude out. But I don't know if it was just a cash grab. Jake Paul made a lot of money. Tyson got a great paycheck too. So you know how it is. Not going to get into was it scripted or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on that. But the Crew Cut video was again something I've been wanting to do, and those videos I do intend to do more of that kind of stuff. It's just kind of labor intensive, and I didn't even reach into the full OLP library. If I would have dug up some of the audio from Rob and a little bit more from Heather and Joey and rest in peace, Sean Mahaney and Van Diemen and even Lance. I mean, there's just so much. And I kept the video kind of high level, but enough detail that it wouldn't go over the viewers' heads. Some of the casual folks that are like, oh yeah, I saw that on the fight. And one person commented and said, hey, I'm here because of the Tyson fight. They looked up the truck or whatever. And I was like, cool, So whatever. Again, I will tell you this, our channel on YouTube doesn't get the most views, but it's a culmination of a lot of content. And certainly I do intend to build it up over the next 5, 10, 15, who knows how many years. We shall see. Speaking of that, one more thing that I wasn't intended to talk about, but breaking news and thinking about what I just said. YouTube to me is the future. We have seen a lot of content creators this year do short videos on YouTube, and a lot of them I wasn't ever even following the media company they work for. There's like Donut, and there's all these different media outlets, right? And all of these creators had left, and they were doing these short videos going, hey, this is why I left. And a lot of the folks were saying that, these conglomerates buy out, they want to buy a business, or, these investors, and they buy a business like Donut. And then they say, hey, those videos are cool, but I want you to do this, right? Because now they're in charge. And the people are going, well, the audience wants this. And they're going, no, I don't care that you've, always made money on your videos for the organization. Do this. And then, of course, number one, they don't want to make those kind of videos. And number two, they don't do as well. There's a culmination of a lot of different things. But anyways, a lot of those folks have branched off and they're doing their own channel, and they're super successful because they've already got a cult following. Well, that dovetails into if you want to look up anything that's a little crazy, the Warner Brothers Discovery merger that happened several years back, and that's kind of just been a disaster from the beginning. A lot of people just didn't think it was going to work right. I mean, they even had films with release dates that they ended up, after the merger, said we're going to pull the plug. They'll never see the light of day. It's better for us to write the entire project off in film and no one ever to see it than even release it. It's like just weird stuff. But I say all that because there was big news this week with Roadkill being announced that they were pulling the plug. And that led to, I did a quick video on social media. And sometimes, again, I don't try to, typically in the past, I haven't tried to jump onto like, oh, this is the hot news. But I did a quick video, and I knew I had most of the facts right, but there were still a couple things that we didn't know. And sometimes I feel weird talking about that, but what we have learned is additional shows have the plug has been pulled. So at first glance, it was kind of like, oh yeah, Motor Trend is going to maybe pull the plug on anything that they're behind. So I think that they have that Hot Rod Garage out in the greater Los Angeles area, and they produce some shows and all different kinds of stuff. They've had that one guy, I forget his name, that's worked there forever. But long story short, Ken Diggett Designs, they announced that this is going to be their last season. I think it's season 13. They said is now in the can, so to speak, meaning that it's, that's an old TV film term, in the can, like in the, the canister where you would put the film. But of course, it's not on film anymore, but you get what I'm saying. But it's unfortunate because a lot of the shows, I think Brooke from RA Florida, and others, or it might have been Lauren, her husband, people posted out there and they said, man, this kind of sucks because all the shows I watched on TV are going by the wayside. So that was big news in our scene. And I, of course, commented on something, and the gentleman from the TV show, I think he would build the 4x4s. I forget his name. Kind of had the crazy hair, seemed like a nice guy. He had a real professional response. He responded to me, and he was like, because I said, man, I miss the days of Velocity. Now I knew that Velocity eventually folded into Motor Trend TV. Like I knew that when I made the comment. I liked the name Velocity, but I think back to that era when some of these shows were really gaining steam, before what we're in now. And it just was a cool era. Some of the shows were the same, some were similar. I forget if Overhaul, and I want to say it was technically on Velocity, but they had all kinds of cool stuff. That they had that one show that the Brendan guy from 90210, some of you guys will remember, he narrated, and that was the first time I heard like Troy Trapana's name and things like that. They had some of that cool stuff. But of course, the guy from the TV show responded to me and he said, hey, Velocity basically was like, that's owned by Discovery, and that's the same thing. And I was like, well, yeah, but if you look back at the press releases and you look at if you Google Velocity TV, there's stuff from, I think it was 2018 or 2020, where it's like Velocity will fold into this new umbrella of Motor Trend TV. So I totally get that it was the same conglomerate, but it was a little bit different then. So I say all that because I really do hope that maybe another network picks this stuff up. Maybe another network steps up. I mean, back in the day, we had Speed Channel. We've had a couple different things, bounce around with good content. I don't know. I mean, Motor Trend I thought was like, I mean, granted, it's a division of Warner Discovery and it's under that umbrella, but I don't know, man. There were so many good shows. I loved Garage Squad, as basic as that show was, like going to the house, showing that you could put a car high up on jack stands. And sure, some of those guys like Joe really know their stuff, but I mean, you could get the job done in a single car garage. It's just crazy, but we'll have to see where all that lands out. Breaking news is brought to you by Lone Star Throwdown. I will tell you a quick update. Lone Star Throwdown, the registration is closed. They did announce their new artwork via Lone Star Throwdown social media. So we would hope that you would make plans next year in Conroe to come on out. It's going to be a great weekend in Conroe. Lone Star Throwdown or the hashtag LST or LST 2025 will begin gaining steam as people get the projects and their trucks ready for that event. The general updates, I only have one really quick one. Mini Nats did finish their registration process, and Jason Bell posted that. I wasn't aware until a buddy of mine told me. So I know there's going to be a lot of happy people. There's going to be definitely some folks that maybe are disappointed, but certainly, as I've always said, take the positive stance on that. You could still bring your ride out. Nobody says you can't come to town with a ride. I didn't even apply for what I'm planning to bring just because I was like, look, I've had my truck in there twice. Let someone else get a chance. I'll park out front and I'll cruise a little bit. I want to do a Corey Floyd photography deal because he's amazing and just have a good time. Like, I mean, again, I know some people want to park with their club and they want to be inside the field and all that, but it's okay if you're not. That's why I told my buddies, go and have fun. The general updates is brought to you by Southeast Mini Truckin' Nationals. This year, it's the last weekend in April. There's been people there from Japan, from all over the country, definitely Canada. So we would ask that come on out. Even though last year was or this year technically was the 30th, certainly next year is going to be amazing. The 31st annual. Last weekend, April 2025, Maggie Valley, North Carolina. The trivia, I got one question, and Mike is, of course, not here. So I got one question for the Airhead. No, I got one question for the Mini Truckin' Syndicate out there, all of the amazing listeners. Are you ready? In Back to the Future 2 that came out 35 years ago today, the day that I'm recording this on November 22nd, 2024. The film came out, of course, 11/22/1989. What was the date George McFly died? Okay. Bonus, what was on his tombstone? So if you remember in the good old alternate 1985, George McFly was killed. Many of you know who killed him because you've watched the film, but I'm sure some of you are scratching your head. I mean, Joey Whitby out there, he's dismantled his dash already. And at this point, I think he's putting gold wing doors on his truck because he's ripped them off. But the tombstone reads, "In loving memory, George Douglas McFly." So his middle name was Douglas. He was born, ironically, April 1st, 1938, but he died on March 15th, 1973. So what's the significance of that? I mean, there's so many Easter eggs in Back to the Future, uh, and then including the sequels, but I don't know of any special tie-in to that, if it's a special date for the producers or anything like that. A lot of times those will be, quote, Easter eggs. But he died March 15th, 1973, and it says, "In loving memory, George Douglas McFly." That's the trivia this week. That it's brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. The holidays are coming. Don't forget they have free shipping options. They have ladies gear, gear for the kids, and of course gear for the gearheads. Mini trucks, full-size trucks. I think they even had a side-by-side on a shirt, sport truck, you name it. Their merch is on point. GarageGearClothing.com. Okay, next to scene updates. I've got three. Really keeping it short this weekend is Showdown in the Valley. Many of you know about this event. It's basically typically in October, which is 6 months past Mini Nats. Okay, but it's done by a different group. And there's a good mix of lifted, lowered, classics, you name it. So it's a really cool event. They pushed their event, as I talked about prior, because of the flooding and the devastation there in the North Carolina area. So they've landed now on the weekend before Thanksgiving, which is this weekend. And of course, now they are plagued with potential snow flurries. So we'll have to see how that works out for them, but we wish them all the best. Showdown in the Valley on Instagram or Facebook. And of course, you can find them on their main website for more info. The Turkey Rod Run, which is next weekend, that's always the weekend of Thanksgiving here in Florida at the Daytona International Speedway. Many of us are going to be out there. I typically will go out there every year. This year, I'm actually bringing something, so that's cool. I've had a truck, Jimmy, thanks to Jimmy Graham at Jimmy's Riding Customs. We've had a truck at the event twice, the chassis at the November show, and then the chassis twice. I think when Jimmy brought it out in March and then November of that year. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll be out there hanging with the NC guys this weekend because that's who I know. And there's going to be a couple of those guys. Shout out to Jay Church, who we'll hear from on this episode. So that's going to be fun. I will want to do a promo, though, and mention that John from You Ain't Low Trucks, also Trucks and Cheeseburgers, will be doing the annual Jimmy's Riding Customs open house that Saturday. Okay, so a week from this Saturday, which is the 30th, I think. So that last Saturday of November, the Saturday night, everyone will leave, everyone that participates will leave the Speedway and they'll gallivant on over to Jimmy's Riding Customs. And we will have the open house. There'll be food, there'll be burgers. You could check out the projects in there. Literally it's an open house where you can kind of walk around and check it out. And Jimmy's mingling with everyone. We're also going to do the Mini Truck Hall of Fame ceremony for Jimmy Graham. So Jimmy wasn't able to make it to Vegas this year. Neither was I. But ironically enough, Juan Trevino had taken the items back for the couple of folks that couldn't make it. And he worked back with Radar. Kind of the chairman is the way I look at it. Radar is kind of the chair of the committee. And Juan is sending that stuff out so that we can present it to him. There's, of course, an award by Creative Designs, Doug, which I don't know if we'll have that in time because they had to change something on it. Or there might have been a little thing that they had to update. But the ring itself that OLP sponsored for Jimmy's Riding Customs, we will present that to him. So if you're out there, cool. I will try to bring a tripod so that we can live stream it. And that'll be kind of cool for anybody that can't make it. so you'll get a chance to see it. But huge shout out to all of the sponsors that have stepped up in the past for the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. Also, Goat, aka Jeremy, he is doing the toy drop show, which I think is the 7th of December, but it's early December. You can go on Instagram or Facebook, type in the toy drop. That's going to be at Lake Square Mall in Florida. We went over last year. We had a good time, and that's going on. The scene updates is brought to you by Local Rides, RIDEZ, Local Rides Mag. You can look them up and show them some love. They've got different issues out for $8 to $10, and they probably will do a Black Friday special. But give them a look. It looks like they've got an issue as low as $7.99 with Mini Nats 2022 coverage. So they've got some cool stuff on their site. Give them a shout. Hut 1, Hut 2, Hut 3, Hut, Old Dirty Ballard, live and uncut. The holidays are here. I highly suggest, put down the phones, put down the tablets, put down the iPads. Mike calls them the smut pads. I don't know why. But put that stuff down and enjoy a little bit of family time if you can, right? I know there's some people that probably listen that maybe they don't live near their family, or maybe you're stationed overseas and things. But for those that can, certainly enjoy the time. I think it's really important. I've done a better job of just trying to balance, I think is the word that has resonated well with me this year, including into 2025. That's going to be my key focus, balancing, not saying yes to everything. And I don't mean like when a friend needs something, but, just even when things come up, how many of us just never like to say no? And I know my whole life is almost like that. Yeah, sure, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. And, it's probably not healthy, right? And I'm not talking like bad stuff, I'm talking just in general. There's days where I just need a mental break from the magazines and the video and, this and that. I mean, stuff I love, but, the Kennedy cruise was kind of a day like that for me. I mean, we had 25 Lincolns out there. We had another 20 non-Lincolns, right? And we just had a great time. There was no time to be on the phone. I had a couple of stuff like preset to go, so I could just go in there real quick, couple taps, boom, fire it off. But yeah, spend the time with your fam. Also, I encourage you to get checked out. Get some blood work done, get a physical, do what you have to do to live, as healthy as you can. Right, the lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle. I've always kind of been pretty good about what I eat and things like that, but just even in my mid 40s now, it's like, get checked out, man. I know there's some people that don't like needles and some people that don't like this, but don't make the excuses. When I recently had an IV for a procedure that I got done, they had to stick me 3 times. The first time I was like, okay. Second time I was like, what's going on? Third time guy goes, yeah, or no, after the second time, he said, hey, I'm going to have someone else try. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, this sucks. But I was like, imagine a little kid that has to do this every day because he or she's sick. I'm like, this is nothing. I mean, sure, nobody wants to be stuck like that, but I'm like, I won't even remember it tomorrow. So, again, get checked out. It's the right thing. Do what you can, man. Your family needs you. Your friends need you. And certainly, there's a lot to live for. So, and I would also, I've said this in the past, if you're struggling with any kind of, frustrations in life or things that, you need help with, I mean, certainly seek help. There's people out there that will help you, or talk to a friend. ODB Live in a Cut this week is brought to you by Colorado Custom Wheels, arguably the best in the business. The amazing wheels. I think they still do rear view mirrors and dabble in some other parts, but they also make steering wheels, and they've got a killer blowout deal going on right now. ColoradoCustom.com for more. Let them know that OLP sent you. Last but not least, a podcast update. So I didn't even mention this on the last episode, but we dropped arguably our most epic artwork of all time. And it was earlier this month, I think on 11/1, we did a pre-sale for our BTTF2, Back to the Future 2 homage artwork, quote, if Marty was a mini trucker, right? So we did a spin. I've been wanting to do this for 5+ years, where we took Marty's extra cab. Technically, it was a 4x4. Yes, I get it. But we body dropped it. thanks to Graphic Disorder. And we added some other cool nods in there in front of the Cafe 80s, which ironically is renamed the Cafe Minis for our artwork. But I got to thank Graphic Disorder for always knocking it out of the park with our direction and filling in any holes that we have in terms of, some of our thought processes. But check out ourlifestylepodcast.com. Now, the merch was a pre-sale. It's already been ordered. Any of the extra stuff that we ordered is on the site. So shirts, sticker packs, banners, and the aluminum signs. There's not a lot of stuff out there. Okay. The stuff will deliver before Christmas. Okay. We pre-planned all of it. We talked to Brand. We knew we had to back into a certain date. We're expecting the merchandise to ship to us in the next 7 to 10 days, give or take. Shannon and Mike will bag and tag and they'll get it shipped out. I want to say early December. It could kind of trickle into kind of mid-December, but I'm hoping by like maybe the 10th of December it'll all be shipped. But certainly it will get to you by Christmas if you want to get the stuff. Again, sticker packs, aluminum sign, just the truck, the shirts, which we did order a couple of extra colors, purple and pink, which are super cool. And what else? The shirts, the stickers. Yeah. I'm also going to throw some hats on there that we found. I forgot that we had a couple of boxes and I had put them up. So they were made prior and they're super cool colors. So maybe by the time you hear this and you go on the site, you can snag a hat and a shirt, and that stuff will deliver before Christmas. So if you want to do it for Christmas gifts, certainly do that. The podcast updates is brought to you by The Freaking Weekend. Huge shout out to Trip. We'll be out in Biloxi for a second time next year, not only in June for Scraping the Coast, but oh, by the way, we'll be out in September again for the third annual The Freaking Weekend, which is an amazing event. Bring the family out. It might sound like a freaking party. It's a freaking party, but it's also very family oriented. You don't necessarily have to go to the pre-party. You don't have to go to the after party, but there's swimming pools and things like that for the family and the kids. And there's just so much going on. A lot of good people. So come on out. With that being said, I spoke a little bit longer than I anticipated this week, just under 30 minutes. Enjoy the audio with Jay Church, aka Hollywood. Much love and respect out there, everyone. Thanks to Scraping the Coast, our title sponsor. Stay on the rise, and don't forget, stream the minutes if you can here on our YouTube channel. It really helps us. Leave a comment. Peace. We got ya. Hey, as I mentioned, we got our friend, no stranger to the show, Jay Church, Hollywood.
How y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to be seen. And I know you're a big fan of Eastbound Get Down. And I got to thank you and Randy and so many of your kinfolk in NC. You guys rally the troops. And I tell you what, if you ever need a day, an extra gig, I think you could be an MC or maybe an auctioneer.
Hey, you never know. It's when the law enforcement gig maybe runs out. Maybe you and I together and get the circus and do a little road show or something.
Yeah.
Maybe we can off old Street Trucks magazines or something. You never know.
Exactly. Maybe when you retire and stuff. And, it's cool that we could all kind of come together, all these different clubs over the years. When we had you on in the past, we talked about the early days of RA and even predating that. But, we've seen NC Florida grow, and we've seen just so many accolades come out of there with all of these different, Barsha and just so many different people with these different trucks. And it's always amazing. Before I share my screen and talk about some of the previous covers that you have, because we're going to announce something kind of big here. How are things going for you, Jay?
Things are going great. Just, every day getting through these storms. Definitely a lot of prayers go out to our brothers and sisters up in the northern parts in North Carolina, Georgia, and definitely our friends and family over there in west coast of Florida and Tampa, and definitely in the Big Bend.
Yep.
It definitely hurt. We did a couple road trips, working where I work at the sheriff's office. We did some road trips and helped out with that. So I got to see kind of the back scenes of stuff and how much really damage was there that the media really didn't cover. So
yep.
It was pretty crucial. Working the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, kind of part of the job that I do, getting to work that, overnight hours. But Just jamming through it. Can't wait for Turkey Rod Run. It's coming up. Jimmy's Rod Run. Jimmy's Cruising.
Yep.
The garage night. Can't wait for that. And then we got Eastbound Get Down after that. Slam Fest is in the mix with that
Yep.
as well. I don't know if that's going to be in the cards for us, but hopefully it all works out for everybody.
Yeah, we're lucky to be in a great state. I know the governor did a lot of the pre-staging of the electrical guys coming in, right? All the linemen and stuff. And to your point, we have so many different shows here, and that's a fantastic thing because, years ago when you and I were growing up reading the magazines, the West Coast had it, was holding it down. And now you think all these years, all of our West Coast friends and kinfolk say, man, the East is really the beast. And we go, yeah, we know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely with and it's unfortunate with Maggie Valley and how hard they got hit with the storm. But mini Nats and having all the shows that are right here in our own backyard, and not to mention not the big huge shows, but some of the little shows like Cruising with the Cruisers and stuff like that.
Yep.
We definitely have some awesome shows on the East Coast of the United States. But then again, I do miss flying out to Cali Truck Jam and hanging out on the West Coast and
Yep.
jamming it up,
Yeah, you've
guys.
you've done it all, Jay. And here's what I want to do. I want to pull up my screen. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I want to throw it back really quick to the early days when we had you on and we talked about God, it's crazy. You think 20 plus years we've been doing this, right? Some longer, some less. But you think back to November 2003. I remember the days, skinny old Jay. You're still skinny, but you were rolling around in the Mustang, dude. And how cool was it that we had high beams and you were able to run on the cover, man?
Yeah, it was definitely an honor to be on the cover. That was the first cover I've ever been on, and to have the opportunity. They shot the car at Slamfest, which was, I had no idea it was going to happen. No one really kind of let me in on the back information. They shot the car there. I still remember Dave Herndon and Fester Herndon, being there when we shot it. I was in Relaxed at the time. And obviously the model, kind of some CGI, AI stuff way before its time.
Sure.
But they kind of superimposed her on there. But it was definitely a great experience to be on the cover of a magazine. And I wasn't quite sure how things were going to roll from there. But there's definitely some future that came of it. The car was sold pretty much. I think it was 13 or 14 days after Slamfest in 2004.
Wow.
Once that happened, I started building my Tahoe, and kind of the rest is history.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump ahead to this slide here, and this one kind of we're gonna break some news here in just a moment, but it's pretty cool because if you think about your progression, you think back, and oftentimes, like being an NFL fan for a long time, Dan Marino as a kid was my favorite player, and it's like he makes it to the one Super Bowl his second year, and he doesn't make it back, unfortunately, right? And I always hate to even share that, but a lot of guys would be lucky to have a cover. But what was cool in your pedigree, Jay, is you then come along and you go, hey, I had a car, a C10, and an SUV, aka a Tahoe. Talk to us a little bit about the trifecta here.
So, building the Tahoe, it was just kind of and not to use the word, but it was kind of an FU to all the people out there that said, oh, I built a car and I got in the club with a car. Can you really build a truck? And I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm going to go over the top. And there's a lot of people that understand that Tahoe, grafting the front end on it, that's an '03 Yukon Denali style front end. And that's no bolt-on masterpiece there. I mean, there was close to $10,000 just in the bodywork alone in putting that front end on. I bought a full front end, and I'm no millionaire, to say the least. I'm just an average Joe, and I was making average Joe money then. I still make average Joe money now, but I did everything I could do to build that truck. I was working extra details out at the port in Port Canaveral with the sheriff's office every single weekend to put money on the table to build that truck. and to get it where it was. And Explicit Customs, Bill Bethhauser, he did a stock floor body drop on it, and we had it to go to blood drag. So I bought the truck on like December 13th. I have a timeline picture somewhere, but I bought the truck on December 13th. It was body dropped and went to blood drag in like 7-8 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
So my biggest thing is I try not to screw around, and I try not to sit dormant for very long. If I got something on the burner, I'm gonna make sure that it cooks and it at least looks good and hopefully tastes good too. So that's always been my motto with stuff is I'm not going to sit here and build something for 25 years and, hope for the best. I got things to do. So that was with the, right. So that was with the Tahoe. So we built the Tahoe. There was a little bit of time delay. My painter had a backlog at the time. So it took me about 9 months to have it painted. But so it went to Slamfest in a black primer once, and then it got painted. Johnny O actually shot the truck originally at a show down at Vero. I think it was like the original Farm Fest. Yeah. He shot it down there, and then there were some issues with him and street trucks and all this other stuff, and not sure what happened, but they wouldn't take his photos. So Joe Greaves ended up shooting it, and he shot it for the cover. And I'm super honored to, again, there's cover number 2, just average Joe, and I get on the cover. And to be honest with you, that truck had a lot of meaning to me because, one, I had a lot of, forethought in it. I had a binder that I had with a lot of different trucks in it. I had Duck's truck, the old dually. I had Scooby's dually in it because I got the idea from Scooby's dually to do the front end, his School and You dually with all the crazy graphics on it. So not to say that anybody's idea is ever original in this game, but I took that front end idea from that truck and kind of went with it from that. Yeah, so I kind of kept it simple, no real crazy stereo, just kind of leather seats, had it reupholstered, painted the dash. That was a nightmare. We painted the dash, the whole dash fisheye, because obviously back in the day you armor rolled your dash 8 million times, so that whole dash was full of armor roll. And so the whole dash fisheyed. So I'll never forget sitting in my garage just re-sanding that whole dash all the way back down, getting rid of the fisheyes, re-primering it. But that truck still exists today, which is awesome. It's out in Texas. It's owned by a member of Relaxed Atmosphere. Great truck, still running today. I'm pretty sure they still got the factory motor in it. There hasn't been a lot of repairs done to it as far as I know from what I've talked to them. Sure. But so it got shot. So awesome stuff, man. It's definitely an honor. I sit back and I look, and I believe that Travis Novak was the editor at the time, and super honored to be able to say that I was on the cover of Street Trucks. And I literally thought that was it, right? My time is done. I can bow out, and I ended up trading the Tahoe, and I got the C10.
I remember the C10 had been featured, I think, in Truckin. A Severed guy had it. But
Carlos had it.
Yeah, that's another part of your pedigree, because it's not just like, hey, that was in an era when you could take a nicely built foundation and go, hey, let me put a new spin on it.
So I got the truck. I got the truck from a guy in Florida. He had bought it. I believe he bought it from Carlos. It was silver. It had a purple frame. It had kind of purple accents everywhere. It small block 350, 700 R4. Very nice interior. Traditional style body drop. Everything was pretty much solid on it. But everything was kind of, it was Orion silver from House of Color, and it had another dark gray silver to it, and then everything was purple, like the frame and everything. Yeah. So my buddy Phil Snow and then Bill Bethhauser doctored up some of the air ride on it. It had old school manual MIC valves in it, so we converted everything over, switched all the air ride up. Bill hooked it up with that. And then Phil Snow, at the time, he owned 5 Star Auto Body. But Phil, worked his magic, and we ripped every panel apart on that truck. We took the motor out of it. We took the transmission apart. The transmission on that truck was painted. The drive shaft was painted. The control arms were painted. Like every inch of that truck was painted. Like the whole frame was purple. Then the whole frame was then painted like a charcoal brown or charcoal silver color. And then the truck itself was painted House of Color, True Blue Pearl. And then all the accents were like this dark charcoal. And then Bill did a full custom stereo in it. I ended up, which was really cool, because I reached out to Carlos and I says, hey man, I noticed in the feature you had these kick panels that kind of matched the truck, because it's obviously stock floor body drop, so kind of everything changed on the altitude. And he's like, I actually have them. He says, but you're probably going to have them rewrapped. So he sent them to me. I don't think there was any payment involved in anything. I may have tried to pay him for shipping, but you know how
that's cool.
How this family is. I don't think he charged me anything. So we put a stereo in it, put a crazy center console in it. We added a bunch of different things. The killer top, and I can't forget, is my buddy Bill Hancock from Colorado Customs, and now owned by Michael and family. So I never forget, Bill Hancock's on the freeway, and I reached out to him, and we're talking, and he's like, hey man, I want to make some wheels for the truck. And I said, okay, well, what are you thinking? And he owned, I guess they were like partners in a motorcycle wheel company too. And it wasn't CC Cycle Wheels at the time. It was another company. So he's like, go through these wheels and see what you find. So I found those wheels. They're called the Del Reys now. But at the time, I'm like, I like these wheels. Can we make them into a truck wheel? And he's like, yeah. So he ends up making them into a truck wheel. We, custom match them to fit the truck. My buddy Gavin, he owns Modern Classic 321, and he's done a lot of work on my current C10, but I was actually away at the time. So there's kind of a crazy story to it all. I was away at the time, at a bomb school, and he mounts and balances the tires. I never actually get to see him on the truck. It gets loaded on a trailer, brought to Slamfest. Tom Bennett, brother Tom from NC, Cheetah Tom, unloads it. It goes into the inside at Slamfest, and then Travis Novak shoots it for the cover.
That's sick. Yeah, I remember seeing it there.
So, but I was never there, and so Tom kind of orchestrated all that, and it really worked out.
That's awesome. So I'm going to share my screen again, because what I want to do is, now here's the thing, we're not going to talk too much today about, in between there's a couple of Cadillacs, right? Which is super cool, but talk to us about, and I'm going to share the cover here in just a moment. This is going to come out once this is public information. What went down with the Patina C10?
So there's kind of a crazy history to it, and we'll just do a quick rewind, because I know we're running out of time. So kids came into play. There was a kid's divorce, all this crazy stuff. So the C10 went away. And we started building a hot pink Cadillac for my ex-wife, and but we ended up getting divorced. I got into motorcycle, the big wheel baggers, and me and my current wife, Lisa Church, we were heavy into that. I built multiple big wheel baggers. They were all featured in magazines. So I was hot and heavy into that, because that was a popular thing, right? And I kind of, and not to say that, you wear out your welcome, but there was, I kind of been there, done that. I built 2 cover trucks and I built a cover car. Not to say that they were anything, I could have done better. Yeah, we can all do better, right?
Sure.
But I enjoyed doing the motorcycle thing. I had fun with it. I had a hookup. Bill Hancock, definitely was a great connect with the wheel stuff. Colorado Customs was hooking it up with my wheels for the bikes. And I had definitely some connects with some other, bagger companies and this, that, and the other. Like Paul Tracy, the IndyCar driver, I ended up getting to know him. He owns a motorcycle company in Arizona. All sorts of people. So we get to 2016, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done with the bikes. I bought a Cadillac, and I built the Cadillac up. We won't get into that. We'll save that for another day. But it was kind of 1 year, give or take 1 year out from Slamboree, the 30th NC 30th Slamboree in Oklahoma. And I'm like, I need a truck, man. Well, a lot of unfortunate things happened, and one of my best friends, he's kind of an older cat, kind of a guy that I looked up to, very much a father figure to me. His name was Leo, and he passed away. Well, he kind of left some things to me, and he bought the shotgun that's in the back of that truck. So he bought that for me for like my 30th birthday, and it's kind of always been just sitting in my closet, with most of the guns that I have. But he passed away, and he left me a motorcycle that he had. So I ended up selling the motorcycle to kind of just to start the process of buying this truck. Sure. And it wasn't an easy feat. I looked at multiple trucks. My boy Scott Krisafi and I, looked at a few trucks, and we went back and forth. And me and Donnie Domino went and looked at a couple of trucks. I went from C10s to OBSs to NBSs to, I didn't know what I wanted. And then all of a sudden I find this C10 that was patina, kind of like the way it is now. It kind of already had a little bit of restoration going on, and it already had an LS motor swap. Mm-hmm. And the LS motor swap was done by a reputable shop. It's called Armageddon. It's down in Stewart. So I do some research on it, and the guy's like, look, I'll sell you the truck, and it comes with like X, Y, and Z. And it came with an extra set of Detroit steel wheels. It came with all wheel brakes. It came with Flaming River steering column. It came with the Inteleronics gauges. It came with like everything. And I think the guy just wanted to get out from under it. So I'm like, done. I'm buying it. So bought it, went down with my father-in-law, Mr. John Connors, and went down there with him, picked it up. We looked it over. It sounded good, ran good, just a, pretty much stock 5.3 LS, but everything was cool with it, and came back home. And I'm like, I didn't know what I wanted. I kind of just wanted just a truck to jump in with the kids with, and that blossomed out of control.
Yeah.
So,
and shout out to Mob Steel, aka Detroit Steel Wheel Co. Like you said, you ran those. They show a lot of love. But between like the custom interior, the patina paint, the engine bay, like it has all aspects of these trucks they're so sought after now.
So when I first initially got it, I wasn't quite sure. Like I got it, I'm like, okay, I can just build a truck that's kind of, 60%, right? I don't need to go crazy with it. And then all of a sudden, I hit up a couple people in the industry, and before you know it, it got out of control. And, with the GSI front end on it, from my buddies at Cam Mod out in California, that kind of set the tone to it. I'm like, I got to have the baddest front end system. So when I hit up Ryan at ProFab, Ryan's like, look, we can kind of do it two different ways. We can kind of make it sit low, or we can make it hammered. And, being a negative camber, you got to make it hammered, or Randy's going to make fun of you, right? So can't be getting made fun of by Randy. And we can't be driving around in no Mazda 4x4s like Scott. So I had to make sure that it laid on the ground. So we definitely made it happen with the GSI front end, and Ryan and his crew over there at ProFab, they knocked it out. That was kind of the first step in the process, getting it laid out. They hammered it out on the ground, and it was kind of like from there, I'm like, if this works out, and it gets done, then we're going to be well on our way. So it was laid out, all said and done, front end installed, rear end narrowed, the new wheels put on, a little bit wider of a wheel, a little bit wider of a dish, the whole 9 yards. But I can't thank enough my buddies at Grunion Fabrication, Switch Suspension, Detroit Steel Wheels, Otis from Gowie Mountain Speed Shop, Relic Leather, Robbie Collins, the interior guy, Hank's Upholstery. I mean, I'm just going off of memory right now because I can't get into my phone.
Yeah, it takes a village to build a truck, man.
It does. Billet Specialties, Gavin from Modern Classic 321s, Bill, I can't thank Scott Krasafi enough for towing that truck, literally around the country. Donnie Domino for checking on it multiple times. And then, obviously Ryan and his people for making it happen. So they were able to make it happen. So that was the step in the right direction. From him, it went to the Magic Man. That's what I call him. He might not like it, but my boy Phil Snow, because he killed it, man. Him and my boy Jeff Crumpler, they sandblasted, media blasted all of the panels that were all painted, and they painted everything before it went to interior. When it was at interior, Robbie Collins and Jeff from Hank's Upholstery, they knocked it out of the park. I mean, the whole floor, and like not a lot of people know this, but the whole floor was refoamed, so there's no like divots or wrinkles in the floor. Like all those old trucks, they have like all the bumps in it. Like that whole floor is smooth, all the way across. So Robbie smoothed the whole floor out, so it looks like just one solid smooth floor, which is just extra detail that really no one knows or will ever see. There's hidden panels in there to access, like the computer. It's never ending. And then when you fold the seat back, man, that gun's displayed in there. Bill Bethhauser and his crew, they use their thousands of dollar machines to CNC the gun that was in there and make that sit in there just right. The Relic leather, man, if you ever want leather, I mean, I don't care. I preach all day long. I got two kids, actually. I got two kids that ride in that truck. My 3-year-old is really not allowed to ride in it because I don't allow car seats in it. But, the two twins, they jump into that thing all the time. And my 3-year-old jumps in and out of it. He'll hey, I want to play in it. And, I don't, put a car cover over my seats. The seats are my seats, and they've held up really great. Relic leather is amazing. If y'all need awesome leather that holds up well, I think it's Josh at Relic Leather. He's an amazing cat. And the other thing is the honey brown carpet. That's all from Relic too. Man, that stuff's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen them chime in a lot on Facebook, and then you also had some tuning done recently.
Yes. So my boy Cal at Heartline Performance, he's been tuning the truck. So this year it's kind of been the motor year for it. I feel like it's a wishing well. We did a cam, we did a new rear end, posi traction, 373 gears. We did a new Circle D torque converter with a 3300 stall. It's I don't know what the horsepower is. We haven't really dynoed it yet, but it's fun.
Machine.
It's fun now, to say the least. Stainless steel exhaust all the way back, a Widowmaker exhaust on it. But yeah, Cal at Heartline Performance. Cal owns his own crazy performance shop, and they do all the LSs in town. And then Gavin at Modern Classic 321, they do all my motor work. They did the bed floor in the truck. They did the brakes in the truck. They literally do everything over there, and he does an amazing job.
Yeah, we'll reveal the cover now. Now, what I would ask of many of you out there, I know some people kind of tend to go, well, there's no more, there's not many truck mags left. Well, there are a few. These are some of the behind the scenes. John Jackson shoots it, but what I want to do here is, let me go ahead and delete these and put this more front and center so people can kind of see it. Now, this is going to come out. It's going to coincide with around the time that Engage Media, the editors of Street Trucks, when they release this cover. But man, it came out freaking awesome. Patina Paradise.
Yeah, man, it's definitely insane to see it. We're a couple minutes away from the reveal on it. I can't wait for it to happen, and it's definitely an honor, to say the least. John Jackson is by far a friend. I would call him a family member. John shot a few of my bikes over the years, and we definitely became friends. And I would do anything for that guy. Definitely an amazing guy. But when I knew the truck was going to be in the stage that it is in, I said to John, I said, hey, what do you think about shooting it? And he says, yeah. So I kind of pitched to Chris Hamilton, obviously the editor-in-chief of Street Trucks and Engaged Media. I kind of pitched him the idea. I says, hey, what do you think about running it in Street Trucks? And he says, yeah, we can possibly do that. He says, I think it'd be cool because of your other Street Trucks features and this, that, and the other. And then it got bumped to C10 Builders Guy, which is awesome, man. I think that's even cooler because C10,
there's less of those.
There's less of those. I mean, bro, at this point, me and Mike Alexander talk. I'm honored to have a little snippet at the top portion, up at the top. At this point, I don't care. I'm just honored altogether. And when, so Mike and I talked back and forth, and, my dad passed away in May of this year. Definitely, a lot of it has to do, alcohol and this, that, and the other. But I stopped drinking just like you did, and that's where we're kind of twinsies on that stuff.
Yep.
And I kind of wanted to share it with him. I know he'll get a chance to see it. They always say that they're watching down over us. I know that we share sentimental value with that, with our pops, yeah. Papa Smurf, rest in peace. So, I definitely wish that he could have saw it, but I understand that the aspect of time and everything else, and everything has its place. And like Mike said to me when we spoke, he says, all things go to those who wait. And I waited my turn. I did everything I could possibly do. And I'm super honored. Like I said, I would have been happy with just a feature in the magazine. Sure. And I have the honor to be on the cover. I'm not saying that I deserve it over anybody else, but man, I'm just an average guy. And if an average guy can do it, and this goes out to all you guys out there that are 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, and you're just trying to build your first truck. If I can do it, man, you can do it. And, it's just having a dream, kind of putting it out on paper. And my boy Jason Ballard built one of the baddest S10s around, and he made it on the cover. So, you can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to it. And I say that with a lot of compassion. There's been a lot of bad ass rides in Florida, and I'm just honored to have the ability to say that I've had multiple features throughout my time and multiple covers. And a lot of it, I will say this, a lot of it is, the connections and the networking that you have. And I'm really good at networking, but at the same time, you got to honor people. You got to honor those that come before you. You got to honor those that are in front of you, and you got to honor those that, run these businesses and this, that, and the other. And I tell you what, Engage Media, no matter what, awesome company. You can only do so much. If you're not out there buying the magazines, you can't run your mouth about them. When you walk into Publix, which I'm about to do, to go buy me some chicken nugs for my little kid at home, right? You can't be mad when you walk by the aisle and you don't pick up the magazine, or you don't grab, and you can't just grab the one you like. I have a subscription. You got to. And then if you see it on the shelf, buy it for your homie. It's only a couple bucks. I mean, we buy a $4 energy drink, but we won't buy a $4 magazine to support the industry. So
Starbucks is expensive, right?
Right, right.
That's great advice, and I can tell you, when you look at the theme of the truck, you can't help but feel proud. Some of our listeners are from New Zealand and Australia and Japan. Everybody's proud of their own country. But I tell you, when you think about America and you think about the rawness of that truck, it's got the patina, which is it's quickly became just a very fascinating aspect of our scene, which I love. The interior, the sound of it, the wheels, with the homemade, made in Detroit, made in America wheels with the awesome company Detroit Steel Wheel Co. It's just awesome, man. It's an honor to know you, and it was so cool at Eastbound this year, seeing you goose it by, but I know you've done even more. So, I can't wait to see it in person, get a ride in that thing.
Hey, Turkey Rod Run, if you want, we can switch it up. And if you're driving Smuggler Blues, how about you just drive the C10 and I'll drive that? And you can really feel how it feels to drive a cool truck again.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, it'll be a good feeling, man. I definitely appreciate that. But look, tip of the cap to you. I would tell people, like Jay said, go to Publix. If you Google C10 Builder's Guide, you'll land on the website. You can order there. You can save with a subscription. And, it's cool that Mike Alexander was able to help pull some puppet strings, Chris Hamilton, that team there at Engage. So that's pretty cool. And, hey, you're representing for Florida, for NC as well. So thanks for all that you do, Jay. But any last words, man?
I got one thing. I want to thank my wife, my 3 kids, Jason Ballard and Scott Kersafi, and the official president of NC Florida, Jen Elise, my girl. She is the girl. She's not technically the president because we don't call her that, but she's my president no matter what. So
I love that. Well,
so she's our state rep, so it's all good.
NC Worldwide represents hard. You'd be hard pressed to find a chapter repping harder than Florida, at least the past 5 or 10 years, in my opinion. So, tip of the cap. We know it's still the lowest brotherhood, and much love to you and much respect for everything that you do every day, man. I know it's not an easy job, Jay. NC, as Maggie Hollowell let me do. We did the snow cone that time. We did,
yes.
The snow cone, But much love to you. Go spend some time with the fam, dude, and have a good night, Jay.
Yeah, whatever you need, I got your back.
1,000%.
All right. Have a good night.